Hey guys, welcome to our The Last of Us episode 5 review on HBO. It's a little late. Obviously, this episode came out on Friday because of the Super Bowl. So we're just getting to it now. Thank you for your patience and thank you for still watching and going on this Last of Us journey with us of one of the best adaptations of a video game on TV. I do want to, as we normally do, go back and kind of do a little recap, talk about episode 4. So, The Last of Us episode 4 increases viewership yet again, 17% this time. So, regardless of the people that were upset by the last episode, multiple episodes ago, you know, people that don't support those types of relationships and that are bigots and things. Apparently, they're still watching, or if they dropped off, way more people came and started watching. So I tried to look for the numbers for episode 5 because now it's Sunday and Monday, you know, but it's still not out. So maybe those will come out recently. So, and then discussing a little bit about episode 4, I did notice the Superman poster. People were like, Joe, I'm surprised Joe did not notice. I did notice the Superman poster. I just forgot to include it in the video when we talk about it. It's hard to get every single little frame talked about. Yeah. Right. And then the new Rockstar, somebody said the new Rockstars interviewed a real mycologist. Apparently, these sorts of fungi are very specific with their targets. Remember when we were talking about, you know, they seem to only target humans and there's animal life everywhere. That is definitely a trait of a lot of fungi. Specific kinds of fungi can only target specific kind of ants, you know, the way it works in real life. So, you know, it'll probably take millions of years for fungi to evolve and be able to infect humans, is what that guy said. And at the same time, in the show, it makes sense that other animals are not infected because they weren't targeted. But, you know, who knows, man? Some of these things can evolve so quickly and, you know, to try to preserve their own life that can accelerate and go into hundreds of years or something. And then we in real trouble. So, anyways,
evolution.
Fun little, you know, thing there. So we'll start with episode 5. So this one is a big payoff episode. This is a big action episode. We get not only the Henry and Sam storyline from the video games, but we also get sort of the most dangerous these infected have ever seen, and they come in force and in mass, and we get a nice boss battle bloater thing coming that it looked great. It looks friggin' awesome, and this episode was badass. However, okay, here comes my critic side, so get ready to downvote the video because everybody just wants to praise it every week. Unfortunately, I think this episode has some flaws, but because of everything else, because of the Henry and Sam stuff, because of the Joel and Ellie stuff, it's still a really good episode. I just felt there were some believability issues in the final battle, and I really am not enjoying the substitute teacher, and it just feels completely tacked on and unnecessary. This Karen, Kathleen, or whatever his name, not Karen, I'm sorry.
Kathleen.
Pretty much Karen, yeah, Kathleen. So I don't know why she looks like a Marjorie to me. This Marjorie is not really doing it for me. But other than that, I really, really enjoyed this week's episode. And it makes a few changes from the video game again, where initially I was like, oh, why did they do that? In particular with Sam's character. They make Sam deaf. And he wasn't deaf in the video game. They make him a little younger. And he wasn't that young in the video game. And there was a lot of rapport between Ellie and Sam because it's even stated at the end of the episode, you know, Henry and Sam are kind of like a mirror image of Joel and Ellie. And so they had that kind of rapport back and forth, and you know, a touching scene where they're talking about what it must be like to be infected. You know, Sam is bringing this up, and they're talking about comic books and things like that. And I was like, how is that going to be retained if he's deaf? And they retained it pretty well. And so I think that there's another change here, and that ultimately it works. So I enjoyed it. What did you guys think of this week's episode? I also found it better than the last episode.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat with you.
So we're going back
I still don't like the whole Kathleen thing and what's going on with the
Okay.
brother. And I guess the Henry stuff, they changed it where Sam had leukemia. He had to be a collaborator. I was like, you didn't have to add to that story. The story enough was already compelling. Why are you trying to add more to like make it more like sad or something?
Yeah. Pull on your heartstrings.
It's like you didn't need to do that. The original already did it, but
I think that had more to do with trying to justify Kathleen because she was doing whatever she could to protect her brother,
like
and then Henry was doing whatever he could to protect his brother. It's like, what does your family member matter more than my family member? Blah blah blah.
Yeah, but I still enjoyed it. But like I said, that's some of the parts that I didn't like.
Yeah, I agree. I think this episode for me is much better than last week's episode. This episode actually makes me like last week's episode less. And it's because I don't think that any of the Kansas City uprising, it didn't justify its existence. And so we are dealing, unfortunately, with a 9-episode series. And this is something we continue to talk about and will continue to talk about. We have a finite amount of time to tell a story. We know where the story is, and we know where the high points, like emotional high points of the story is. This is one of them. And like, so when you veer off from the course of where, what's established, you run the risk is like if you do it really well, like in my opinion, episode 3 was amazing. So it justified its existence. All of the Kansas City hunters, none of them justify their existence. I don't give a fuck. I don't care about them. And that action scene was amazing. And until you start thinking about it, and when I started to think about it, the
believability is ridiculous.
You have to hire someone who has an eye for action scenes because this is like the second or third time where I'm watching an action scene in this series and go, this ain't it. It's not like it's realistic because it's just it's dumb and it's not.
I even wrote down they pull their best Game of Thrones season 8 impression.
Yeah, and so I really like this episode. I like the Henry and Sam stuff. Honestly, last week's episode shouldn't exist. This episode could have just immediately taken its spot, been 5 minutes longer, and accomplished the same thing. Yeah. But I'm like, this episode I liked on its own, but now I'm getting more and more worried about the season as a whole because we got a lot of stuff to cover and we've got 4 episodes to do it.
Yes, that's true. And I hear one of the episodes is supposed to cover the Left Behind DLC, but I think at this point it's not an entire episode. It's probably going to be half an episode, or at least it better be because we got a lot to get to.
Yeah.
All right. So I think we're all mostly in agreement, and I'm wondering about whether you guys are in agreement that the episode was great. Battle was badass. There's just 2 problems for us. It's the Kathleen storyline and what they injected there in order to justify it. Didn't work quite as well as some of these other excellent changes. And then the believability in the action sequences and stuff. So we will, let's go ahead and give it a final verdict. And then we'll go ahead and jump in and discuss bit by bit in the episode.
I think this stuff is, there's some great action scenes here.
Alex, do you want to change your rating from last week?
Oh, I think I give it a 6.
Down 1 point?
Did I give it a 6 last week?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I was
average.
Yeah, I think it was average, and it just didn't. It had the opportunity to justify its existence, but it didn't. And so, like, that storyline is done. Like, we know that storyline is done, and it provided nothing.
Now that we see the full context to Kathleen and her, I don't even know that guy's name. What's this guy's name? No, it's not Tommy. It's Tommy.
It's Tommy.
But it's not Tommy.
Yeah.
Perry? No. Terry?
Is it Joe? I'll look it up.
Yeah.
Good job, though. No, it's the
villain. I don't know. I don't remember.
the henchman.
Yeah.
I may
her
be
second in command.
Yeah, her second in command. Do I remember it wrong? Did Joel and Ellie give everyone false names in the first one, including Sam and Henry?
I don't remember.
No. What do you mean false names?
So this, when they don't say, "Hi, I'm Ellie. This is Joel," to anybody, period.
Oh,
and in this one they did, and this is something. The other thing I was worried about is
Ellie does kind of let loose that we're going to Wyoming, and I'm like,
I'm Ellie, and this is Joel, and Joel says his name.
Yeah,
and this is one of the big things that I'm worried about because it makes no sense in the second fucking game that Joel and Tommy start giving their names out to people.
Your worries are perfectly
if this is the
justified because it does seem like we're
if this is the first time where they're like, oh no, they never hide who they are from anybody, then I have an issue. Okay, well I'm on
Perry, Joe, you got
Perry?
it.
Okay.
Did you say Terry?
Perry or Terry? I said one of those. I said both, but.
You did mention the hamburger place, right?
Perry was Kathleen's most loyal follower. Yeah, he did now.
Yeah. I did like it better. I think this is like a 7 or an 8. I may actually, I mean, that Perry getting his head ripped off was kind of cool.
Yes.
So I think I will go with an 8. I had fun with this one. I think that the Sam storyline, like the brother stuff, is really powerful. It's just, man, that the taint of last episode and like the hunters is just, it's just not good.
Yeah, same. I'm gonna give it an 8. I like the action scene. It was like dumb fun, but it's like it's pretty cool. I like the bloater. It's pretty sweet.
We'll get
Fucking
there.
like the bloater.
I think I gave it extra points because kids are fucking creep. Kids are creepy, man, and this they actually give us a kid clicker, which we'll get to.
Well, yeah, that's the irony. Is like kids are supposed to die. It's like, well, you died by a kid, so whatever. And again, I didn't like the whole hunter that just took away time, but I did like the chemistry between Sam and Henry. Knocked it out of the park.
Yes,
Loved it.
great actors. I think ultimately I was like, no, don't change it where he's dead. They're going to have less, rapport and less talking and less conversations. But honestly, everything that was in the video game was here as well and done better. There's one caveat. Some people can argue, well, why would Ellie keep that to herself? That kind of makes Ellie selfish for Ellie. But you have to remember that Ellie's a little kid, and she was probably believing that she could cure and that everything's going to be fine. And this is kind of like a rude awakening for her that really even hardens her character even more. So I think that really adds more character depth to her going forward. So let's jump into the actual episode. I am also going to give it an 8 out of 10. I think it's capable of a 9. I think it can get even up to a 10. It's just those things. The Kathleen and then sort of the
now
way
that we're done, hopefully we go back on track.
Yeah, I think we're back. I think we'll get back on track because Kathleen's motherfucking dead. And fucking Terry, Jerry is dead, and a lot of these motherfuckers are dead, and we're trekking along. So the episode starts with a flashback to a celebration of taking down Fedra and a pretty brutal beating and fucking war crimes,
stabbing.
Damn, them soldiers are still alive, and they are fucking them up. I was like, damn, man, this is some adult shit, this is some mature shit, and this is probably what would happen. Because there ain't no fucking tribunals for war crimes unless, like, the new faction makes up their own tribunals and courts, which is exactly what the next scene is when Kathleen, who is now head honcho, substitute teacher of these very brutal killers who, if you look at them the fucking wrong way and you have any dealings with Fedra, she's going to kill you. And she's talking to some of these collaborators. These are the people that will snitch on you so they can get some apples and some macaroni and cheese and shit. And she just has no respect for them and she hates them. So she wants to know where Henry's at. I knew right from the beginning that they were all dead. I thought they were just going to shoot him, on screen or something, but it didn't go that brutal. She gets the information she wants from one of them. She does let him know. She's like, look, we're going to put you on trial. You're going to lose. You're guilty. And you just be in jail for a while. Yeah. That wasn't the case. Because later on, she's like, all right, burn them.
That's the apocalypse. There's more mouths to feed. So
when you're done, burn the bodies. It's faster in the... But then when she says it in the nicest, most homely voice.
Right.
I was like, I just not getting it. Yes, I understand that that's perhaps the point that they're making. And by the way, I was right. Her brother was a leader, and then she had to be thrust into a position of leadership when he went down. But that doesn't mean that there are other the substitute teacher sister. We'll follow her now. I'm sure there were other people who were taking up arms against Fedra, but whatever. We go with her. That's the point, Joe. Is that she's not she's been twisted and she's not. It's like no. Yeah, and I have no problem with the actress herself. I just think she's miscast, and I think the way she's playing it is it's unbelievable. Compare that with Henry's actor. God damn, I love Henry's actor here. He does fucking amazing, and he's perfectly cast, and he plays it great. It's unfortunately the Kathleen character's not doing it for me, so she tells him to burn the fucking bodies. And And that's when we notice that Sam is deaf. And I do think it adds an interesting drama and dramatic tension here. It's like, damn, it's even harder for somebody who cannot hear to hear gunshots outside. He doesn't hear when they're searching for him. When Joel and Ellie get into a firefight, Sam's like, "What is happening?"
Yeah, when he's trying to get people's attention, he's banging. He's like, "You can't do that.
Stop
Stop
banging.
it! Stop it! You're gonna attract someone."
Right. So it adds some tension, and I like it. And then there's even that more feeling of you need to protect him and you want to help. He needs help and stuff. So they eventually they show from another angle that Bill, Henry and Sam managed to sneak up on Ellie and Joel. And apparently, fucking Henry's gun was empty. It's pretty incredibly stupid for somebody who, some might have went down. You're gonna need something, but okay, fine. They never intended to kill anybody. Henry is a pacifist, and he hasn't murdered anybody, but he will if he needs to. He says, I don't know how when your gun's empty. Anyways, but then they eat Bill's food, they share food, and they kind of calm down and get into a bit of an alliance. And Henry essentially shares, look, I saw y'all fighting them, so I know you're not them, and I'm wanted numero uno, and I bet you're number 2.
Yep.
So why don't I help you get out of here? So Henry's going to show the way out. And it makes sense because this is Henry's territory, so it's all good. And Joel will be the one that clears the way because Joel's a badass, is how they're building it. And my God, is he? He's going from not being able to fucking hit a clicker 5 feet away from him to
sniping everything,
precision, 100% accuracy, and not hitting any allies as he's sniping from 300 meters away. I don't fucking know. So we'll get there. So anyways, we get the great moment from the video games as Henry says there's tunnels. Let's go through the tunnel system. And in the video games, you see that. You even see the exact drawing, the 2 Fedra soldiers, like children down there. Different people trying to cope with it different ways. And unfortunately, something happened here because they're not there anymore. They maybe died or moved on. But it's a bit of a quiet moment so that they can have a bit of fun. There's some comic books. They're playing soccer. They're laughing a little bit. And, it's a good moment, a touching moment that is immediately ruined by the scene where we have the substitute teacher attempting to justify her position, and it fails. And then of course we have affirmation that you are the character that everybody should believe and like. He didn't change anything. You did. Mm-hmm. We are with you, Kathleen. I'm not with you. I'm not feeling it. So, but that scene took way too long. She's in a bedroom, I guess her exit bedroom, and it's just not working for me. Yeah.
No, it didn't work for me either. I didn't enjoy it.
Yeah, it's not interesting. And then the problem is the show has issues with believability when the plot lines aren't interesting, right? And so we know that she knows that there's this massive underground soup of zombies under their buildings, and they're kicking in doors, door to door, than the whole city that they've knocked through over kids who are going to run away. And it's like you're gonna endanger literally every single person. Like it just becomes a problem where it's like,
And that's just, don't say, oh, well, she's fucking hell-bent on getting Henry because her brother's like, yes, look, this is just one of the things. We're stacking one pebble. Mm-hmm. Trust me, there are many pebbles that kind of shake the believability overall. Yeah. So one of them being, now they get up out of the, see, my plan was great, and they're all being glibby and loud, and yeah, we're going to, you just know. Because of, I don't know, every single other piece of media and content that when you're fucking bragging and you think you've made it out, you're not. And so I'm just like, okay,
never celebrate too early.
Never celebrate too early. Just hurry up and do it. And it turns out to be a sniper attack from a building in the distance. Luckily, the sniper is the worst shot. Does not manage to hit any of them. And then we get the Joel scene where, Joel,
He's just trying to contain them.
get your gameplay mechanic where Joel's going around and he manages to sneak up on the sniper and take him out. And well, he actually didn't want to kill the sniper. He's like, "Don't do it, man. Just put your gun down." And
feel bad for the old man. I was like, "Come on, man, don't do it."
I don't feel bad for him. Motherfucking idiot, right?
He is.
He is so brainwashed by Kathleen, his fucking leader, that he's gonna throw his life away in a clearly disadvantaged situation. Bullshit. But hey, don't do it. He kills a motherfucker. And he was just sort of turns out he was just delaying them until Marjorie gets there. Marge in charge. And she does. They got all the trucks roll up. You got this big fucking truck with the goddamn plow that says run. And, so they're just doing their thing. And then it turns into, and then they all pile out. And you see they all have motherfucking M4s, by the way. There's plenty of ammunition. They all have the fucking machine guns and stuff. And it turns into Joel versus 57 armed dudes. I'm like, how the fuck are they going to get out of this? There's too many guys. How are they going to believably write themselves out of this? And so Henry and Ellie and Sam are hiding behind a car, literally footsteps away. And Joel is like, "Am I going to have to shoot all fucking 57 of them?" Impossible. But so Henry realizes the jig is up, and he sort of, in order to buy some time and in order to get Ellie to grab Sam and run, he's going to sacrifice some lives. So he says, "I'm going to give up." And he comes out and he's like, "Just let the kids go." And she's like, "Nah, I'm not letting the kids go because she's evil and
it's like, I'm gonna kill you.
Been twisted."
But then I'm not, because I have the perfect opportunity to kill you.
It all ties into the themes here, but I just miscast.
Well, Henry, I mean, do you think they were going for like a Nurse Ratched, Dolores Umbridge type situation?
Don't know any of those things.
Oh, well. Nurse Ratched was like this really nice nurse, but she was fucking evil. And Dolores Umbridge was from Harry Potter, and she's really nice, and she tortures the kids and stuff. And I think that maybe that's what they were trying to go, like a real world version, but it's just not working.
She lost her brother, and she's just on the revenge path.
Yeah,
and you snitched out my brother to protect your little kid. So now I'm going to kill your little kid because, he's part of the reason why my family member is dead. But she just goes way too far with a lot of that stuff. But again, that's part of it, and it's supposed to be the point. So anyway, he reveals himself, and she says, "It ends the way it ends," just as she cocks the gun. Just then, just so happened to be, the truck falls in. And the truck falls into a perfectly placed sinkhole, and I guess the zombies decide at this moment to come up in the perfect place at the perfect time. I'm like, come on, the Lazarus, you've been doing so well. You've already set it up in multiple ways. You could have dropped visual scene hints, like as gunfire and the sniper starts sniping and trucks start driving. You'll see. Like that. Just some scenes every pitch. No, it's all abrupt. It's all for that shock value. And that's the kind of stuff you saw in Game of Thrones and even in the little House of Dragons. The dragon comes up. It's like, it goes for the lowest common denominator while throwing the believability out the window that they have so painstakingly set up here. Because all of these motherfucking runners and clickers and little ones and big ones come out of the hole, and they are moving fast. These are video game probably even faster than video game clickers and runners, and somehow they're not all fucking dead. They actually start fighting back. They do a wide shot where they're in a circle formation, firing all their automatic weapons. And I'm like, motherfucker, probably shooting their own people from that. That would have been cool to see a few of those. So they're just firing their automatic weapons. Suddenly, hundreds of clickers and runners are attacking the small army. So I was like, that's how they're going to get out. It just happens at the right moment. So everyone starts shooting. Joel is up there.
Picking off
fucking sniper elite. Helping Ellie and Sam and Henry with perfect accuracy. And it's just, dang it, Joel then covers them from his sniper position as they are being overrun. They hear a growl, and the shot, actually turns into. I was like, God, I don't know about the direction and some of the action. The shot actually goes to that 90s, frame by frame thing that they used to do a long time ago that I fucking hated then and I hate it now. It's like, oh, and then it shows the big bloater coming up from the ground, and apparently they used a real suit. It took them $500,000 to make this suit.
It looked almost completely CG.
And I gotta mention that. I wrote that, but it just looks CGI to me, I wrote down.
Damn.
Yeah, I saw the production photo of it. It looks fucking amazing, and it's great. And anyways, the second in charge, we'll talk about that more in a minute. The second in charge guy, who Joe,
Perry.
guy's name, Terry, Tommy, tells the substitute teacher to run.
Don't look back.
Don't
You're too
look back.
important to the cause.
And it's like, you roll your eyes here because it's like, we don't care.
Everyone
Yeah.
here's going to
And
die.
So
You're,
just
you're
die
trying to get a
already.
moment. And and he does die, Joe. He dies in a horribly
No, both of them. I was like, just
glorious
both of them just die
way.
already.
Gets his head torn off by the fucking bloater. And the bloater shakes off all of his fucking shots. He's fully armored. So, anyways, Ellie manages to get separated from Sam and Henry, and she ends up hiding in a car. And then, this is a good part of the episode, the creepy motherfucking clicker child comes into Ellie's
Fucking
car.
exorcist crawling around everything.
Right,
Like,
doing
what
the
the
fucking
fuck?
somersaults and shit. I was like, that is gross. And I said to myself, I'd rather be attacked by the big boy, because at least with him, I don't know. It's like, I know what's coming. I'm gonna die. I'm gonna die quick. And a little baby gonna chomp on me for a while because it's not strong enough.
You're doing a bad job killing me. Do it faster.
Yeah. So I was like, fuck that. Plus, it's scary as shit and creepy.
Yeah.
So it's a great moment, and I like how a lot of zombie shows. Well, no, they did do young children and other zombie shows, but they're not afraid to do something that's that's fucked up, or you showed a child zombie or whatever. Anyways, Ellie exits the car, traps that fucking kid thing in there, and at that moment when she exits the car, more perfect, accurate fucking sniper shots. Like, he must have killed at least 75 clickers by now. Damn, man, he was right about the other gun not having ammunition. He must have had the most fucking ammunition I've ever seen. Anyways, she sees Henry and Sam, and they are in danger. There's these fucking clickers that are chomping at them and then, like, about to get them. And she kind of looks at Joel, and I think there's a moment where she nods at Joel, and Joel
Let's
nods
do
at her.
this.
Like,
Yeah.
I was like, maybe that's there, maybe it's not. Maybe it was just my brain interpreting it. Do a little hero moment. So we get a Ellie hero moment where she
Sneaks up behind the clickers and
they
stabs
pull
them.
Stab him there.
they pull their
Yeah,
best
it's like, wait.
Game of Thrones season 8 impression. What episode was it? The Long Night or something, where it's like they're surrounded by zombies and they're fighting 15 zombies, and then an hour later they're still fighting 15 zombies, and at the end they've killed all 270 zombies. It's that kind of mall. It's like, why? You've done such a good job, and you can still do things in this way. Just have people in different positions and in different situations. But okay, so she runs through a ton of clickers to save them as Joel snipes everyone around them with 100% precision. But not before getting helped by a random car that hits 3 more clickers that were perfectly placed behind her. And then so they do that. They got to spend that budget. So Ellie then comes in her Call of Duty hero moment. She fucking stabs 2 clickers at close range while they just ignore her.
They're dead. Instant.
They're focused on the.
Then they're instantly dead. Yeah, and then she saves Henry and Sam, and then they run. And so they get up and they're running, and I'm like, oh, not before substitute teacher just so happens to walk up to them right then, right behind them, and she's got no sniper killing things behind her, but okay, so she comes up and she says, she calmly says, stop, instead of shooting. They're dead is what she always wanted.
You're gonna wing them.
Yeah.
She says, stop. And then they turn around, and this basically, oh no, we're gonna die. This basically gives the child clicker ample time to find its way out of the car that it was trapped in, and then do a CGI jump on her.
The clicker's like, I heard what you said about kids dying,
Yes.
and I got to do my fucking moment. Yeah, this works in a storyboard. If we just describe
excellently,
yeah, and the problem is I don't.
And a video game works excellently.
Yeah, the director is just dropping the fucking ball. Whoever is doing these action sequences is just not doing a very good job. And I mean, it's not the worst thing I've ever seen, but the level of other writing is high, and so this is a glaring flaw in comparison.
You see it. You see some of the stuff there. So, and then that little baby that jumps on her, it kind of like hits her lightly before biting her, and then like,
oh, get off me.
But okay, so and then she dies, and then yeah. So
We'll live happily ever after.
our lame insert character died here. Perry's dead. All them motherfuckers are pretty much dead, and they run. Right now, they run, and not a single runner or clicker notices them. Running away, even though they're like 5 feet away. And instead, the horde actually turns in the opposite direction. If you look there at the end, and assumedly to attack, free Kansas City, all the rest of the soldiers and people that have been liberated or whatever. So they're all gonna fucking die. And apparently, I forgot to mention this, that they're like, well, aren't all the clickers down there when you go into the tunnels? Because Fedra's like, oh, they're all down there. And he's like, no, we cleared them all out. This one guy told him they cleared them all out.
You assumed, yeah. So.
But apparently they didn't clear them all out because they were still there, and they were there in one big lump. But then I'm like, how did they not encounter a single goddamn one?
I think what
must have been in a room with a few people that got infected, and then not all those guys came from a specific locked room. I don't know. That was under that house.
No clue.
I think what Henry said, he said they cleared them out. They cleared out the specific tunnel. I don't think he cleared out all of the tunnels. So that only specific tunnel was safe. So it turned out Henry didn't need.
Whenever they saw the big gaping hole, the last episode.
Yeah.
Pulsating.
Okay. That one wasn't clear. So we understood that shit wasn't clear. I thought that was the bloater right there, and that somehow that would tie in, the bloater would come out of that hole. But no, it's just letting us know that I guess they're moving and they're there. Yeah. So I wrote, on one hand, it's a badass sequence, right? And on the other hand, as a critic, it's a slightly unbelievable, little lazy, and kind of filled with tropes and plot armor to get this badass moment. And we've just seen media, and we've seen these things done in the exact same way without all those stretches in logic. And if anybody's capable of doing it, it's this team. Unfortunately, it didn't get done right there. But it doesn't take away too much. Just want to make that clear to y'all. It doesn't really take away too much for me. I thought it was great. Then they have a quiet talking scene. Henry kind of agrees to come with them. So you think that this is the beginning of, okay, in the video game, it's like, all right, I got more guns. I got more. Right, yeah, we know better, especially if you played the video game. And we get that scene that I thought wasn't going to work because Sam is deaf, but it actually works perfectly. He asks if she's even scared, and just as in the video game, she says she is, and she admits that she's terrified of being alone. So she makes that, and Sam asks, "Is it still you inside when you become one of these monsters?" And initially, I'm like, "That's an interesting question," until you realize he's asking it because motherfucker's been bitten, and then when you think about that, you're like, man, that is horrific. This is a small child trying to deal with. He's about to turn, and it's So and in this one they do make a change. Sam shows to Ellie that he was bitten.
Yeah.
In the video game, he doesn't show, and it comes as a surprise. And so because Sam shows, Ellie then shows that she was bitten, and she's like, "It's not a big deal. Like I have, my blood. My blood is medicine," she says, and she basically tries to give him her blood, which was kind of a fucked up and touching new bit, endearing, and this innocence, this childlike. Don't worry, I'm the savior, and everything's gonna be fine. And yeah,
Yeah, to me, it's like a kind of little problem with this. Is like you are infected. You don't know if it's going to work. Why would you fall asleep? Like, I would kind of be on guard.
Yeah,
You've
it
seen
sounds
what's been going on.
And you can see the writers on paper. This is great, but then
Yeah,
when you kind of
yeah,
think about the implications of it, it's like there's a lot of jumps in logic that you would have to make, and Ellie would have to kind of revert to a little girl kind of thing.
Yeah.
A few years younger than she really is to kind of just assume that this is going to work.
Like, I get she won't tell Joe or Henry, sure.
Sam
but,
does say shh, because that's another thing. Why doesn't she just tell?
Yeah. But at the same time, it's like, be on
Don't tell
guard.
everyone I'm going to endanger your life
Be
and
on
kill
guard.
everyone. And it's like I don't know. It doesn't. I don't think this change could have worked. I don't think it did for me. I don't think it was portrayed in a way that made sense. So I don't know.
The change that she knows about it before.
Yeah, it's like she knows how dangerous this whole situation is. She knows how that Joel over this to start this whole thing, Joel has to punch a man to death. Like she knows how deadly serious this whole thing is. And you live in a world where one person like hiding a secret kills an entire town. Like I refuse to believe that everyone here is so fucking stupid all the time. These are people who have lived in this world and know how serious the rules are. The same reason I didn't like the Kansas City people all leaving the containment zone. They all leave the protected walls and then they die and not a single person went like, "Hey, why are we leaving the safety zone?"
Well, they didn't all leave. Obviously, that's just her enforcer army.
But like, even the army would be like, "This is a stupid fucking thing to do."
Yeah, this is a lot of soldiers for two fuckers.
Yeah,
two fucking people that we don't care about. Only Kathleen cares about it. But she's such a great leader.
Yeah.
Let's bring the whole army.
Yeah, this one just didn't work for me. So.
She says, or Sam says, "Stay awake with me," and she does. They kind of fall asleep, and it's sad as fuck. Actually, I think that it works, but there are some problems in logic that I totally understand that people would have. But then you have that small gray areas, like do people act irrationally sometimes in those situations? This could fit in there. It wasn't so over the top that it was outright. Yeah. No, I'm not, but. Yeah, it does question, Ellie's motives here. So, or judgment rather. So, anyways, but I do think that this method it's way more sad. It's sad as fuck, and holy shit, that could bring the tears. And I'm like, man, this show's good. You could feel the emotion there, and then they wake up. Sam is at the edge of the bed, not responding, but he's deaf, so it could be normal. But then no, it's not normal. He's turned, attacks her just like the video game. Boom! Yep. She comes out of the room, falls down, and of course Joel's gonna try to help, and Henry immediately tries to shoot. Say, hey, don't fucking that's Sam, and then he shoots Sam himself. Because and it all happened so fast, and he's like, "What did I do? What did I do?" And then he shoots himself. He actually doesn't blame Joel like he does in the video game. In the video game, he kind of gets mad at what it's more emotionally. It's like it's your fault. He needs somebody to blame. I liked that moment, because it's like you're trying to find understanding for things, and you've got nothing to grab on. But he just doesn't really say anything. He just kind of takes it on to himself. What did I do? Shoots himself. Boom. Tragic end to a mirror image of Ellie and Joel. Those guys didn't make it. Ellie and Joel have made it, and they're going to move on there. So you're digging the grave is the very next shot, and Ellie writes an "I'm sorry" on that little pad that they use to communicate. And she just asks, which way is west? And then she just starts walking off. She's like, let's go. So Ellie's hard now. Yeah. So great episode. Those moments are good. There we got some Easter eggs from the video game. You know, all the drawings basically, shot for shot with a video game, and yeah. So they took. I rewatched the moments between Sam and Ellie because I was like, how are they going to do this and keep it just as emotional and interesting with Sam being deaf? And they pulled it off. But one thing they did take out is any talk of religion. So they actually mentioned religion. Sam and Ellie are talking about. Sam's like, do we go to heaven? You know, because he knows he's dying. Ellie doesn't yet know. And he's like, is there a heaven? And Ellie's like, no. Yeah, she doesn't believe in a heaven. And then Sam's like, yeah, stupid, or no, you're right. So neither of them believed. And I'm like, well, yeah, probably because Americans would be pissed off. So we're gonna take that out for mass audiences. Yeah, so they don't talk about religion in that. Yeah, so it sounds like they were looking, and then after the episode, they were looking for deviations. It's one of the guys, and he's like, "Hey, Neil Druckmann, listen to my idea. What if we made him deaf?" And Neil was like, "That is genius. Why didn't I think of that myself?" And so they needed ASL, so they needed some help from ASL, sign language people. So they hired somebody that was actually deaf. So the boy Sam was actually deaf, and that was cool. I think he actually put in really good performance, and it was good. So they had all the comic book stuff in there, the Endure Survive. In fact, they took it to the next level. I like how, in order to give Sam some courage, Henry kind of draws the superhero costume on Sam, and that was cool. What other moment?
I like that.
Yeah. And then in the after episode, they keep saying that they were, a lot of these were suits, and then when they show the after scenes, those people that are coming out of the motherfucking hole, those are all real people. Those are they're dressed up as zombies. I'm like, what the fuck? And they were like, yeah, this is really hard to film, and we wanted to get real actors in here because they have these subtle movements that really you can't get with CGI, and they really make it look realistic. And I'm like, that shit all looks CGI to me. Like, every single one looks CGI to me. I'm sorry. And I'm like, man, they've spent a lot of money to go practical, and it didn't really work out. But maybe it did. Maybe my brain was tricking me, and I was buying it, or I was seeing... Or maybe those actors are just moving so good that I'm like, damn, okay. But it looks CGI, but they were just doing a good job with their movements.
That's so crazy. That suit was 500 mil?
500 million.
Or 500,000?
500,000. Yeah, half a million.
Half a mil.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then the writer, there's Neil, and then there's the writer. I forget the writer's name, from the Chernobyl, the Rocket Man guy. He says a line where I'm like, oh, fuck no. He's foreshadowing Joel's death right here, and this is giving me that they're going to do it exactly the same way. Because listen to this quote. I'm quoting now. And he says this is the point that Neil is trying to make, right? You cannot escape fate in this regard. In fact, the more ruin and hurt you cause to protect this person, the more brutal it will be when you lose anyway. And what is Joel doing? He's ruining and hurting in order to protect Ellie. And the more brutal it's going to be when Joel loses anyway. So I don't know, man. I think they're keeping that shit intact.
Well, they have to.
I don't think that... They don't have to. They've made plenty of deviations already. The way they depict his death, they could do it. They could set it up differently. But what I'm thinking, because he said this line, Alex, is they're going to keep it just as frustrating, just as stupid. Yeah, Joel made a stupid mistake of basically giving his addresses and telling everybody who exactly he is, because they want it to be as brutal and as surprising as possible. and I just don't want that.
I think that they're trying to make it more palatable to people who didn't play the game, even starting with this episode. Because I don't remember for sure, and I was trying to look. I'm pretty sure that even throughout the first game, he doesn't even give Henry and Sam his real name. They refuse to use their names. And so that's why it was so jarring. In the second one, I was like, man, this guy for 20 years has been giving people false names, refused to tell anyone but his tight inner circle who he is. And that's why it was so weird when you play the game. He's like, my name's Joel, and this is Tommy, and I live here, and I murdered your dad. And like it was kind of a dumb situation. It wasn't presented well. And I thought they would present that situation better. But it turns out what I think they're doing is now they're just going to retcon that Joel was ever careful at all during his travels. And now it's going to make sense. It's like, no, see, he's always been an idiot.
See, Ellie was not being careful, and Joel's like, cut it out. And this is the start of Joel being like, okay.
I'll just give
And then Ellie even makes a line. You remember the line she said, yeah, when I first met Joel, he was just, hey, you can't do this. And then I just kept doing it, and now he's okay with it.
So I think, yeah.
So they're kind of going to show that he's going to soften over time in that way. Yeah. So it does seem like they are attempting to justify that moment that's coming. But boy, are we picking, because we just don't want it to go down like that. Anyways, Henry and Sam, ultimately, I think the changes in the TV show and the HBO, Henry and Sam as a whole are actually done better than the video game. Regardless of, we're changing, like Sam shows his wound before, Sam is deaf, Henry, they give more time to Henry and Sam. They give some interesting folds and interesting information in there. And I think ultimately Henry and Sam is done better in the video game. And I honestly would give the episode a 9, if not for some of the ridiculousness in the battle. And then kind of the payoff with Kathleen and wasting kind of screen time and believability on setting up this new character. That was one addition, not from the video games, that didn't quite work. So. Or not from the video games. It didn't quite work. So, anyways, that is our opinion on Episode 5, 8 out of 10. What did you guys think about Episode 5? We have 4 more episodes and plenty of story left. So, hopefully, these things can be done with justice. But I think that we needed more episodes. I can already tell at where we're at that I think it would be perfect at probably about 12. I think you can get it in 12. They're going with 9. So we'll see. We'll see how they execute it. But, yeah. All right, guys. Thank you all so much for watching. And we will see you on the next Angry Joe Show. Bye, guys.